What's that? Howls from the woods, movement under the water, something you notice out of the corner of your eye, but you look, it's gone. This is Cryptid Talk. Hello, everyone. How is everyone doing today? Hope everyone is having a very fine Friday, Saturday, Sunday, whatever day you're listening to this on. And I hope your day is going well. And hopefully, you also had a good week if this is the end of the week. Or I hope you have a very good week if this is the start of your week. Or I hope your week's going well if it's in the middle of the week. You know, I think you get the gist of where we're going with this. I hope everyone is doing well overall. Hope everyone is getting ready and prepared for Christmas or holidays or or Hanukkah or whatever holiday you celebrate. Uh, oh God, I don't think I really have much more to say. The only thing I could really, I guess, what's the word like, is update on is that I'm going on a BFRO expedition next year, so I'm all signed up for it. Just gotta pay the wage for it, and then I'll be good. But yeah, so I'm very looking forward to that. It's only gonna be about 3 hours from me, where in whatever state it's in, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I haven't gone on a BFRO expedition since last year in the Pennsylvania one last year. But then if unfortunately there wasn't one in Pennsylvania, whatever, it's in Pennsylvania. But there wasn't one this year, but there will be one next year. So hopefully I will be going to that one. What else? And yeah, I'm just really looking forward to it. The price of it, I remember from beforehand. You know, the price was a certain amount at the first one, but each time you go on the expeditions, it actually gets cheaper. So it's actually half off of what it was from before. So that's pretty good. I know it went down, but I didn't know it was that. It was going to be that much. I thought it was going to be more of a smaller amount, and then the next time it would have been to that. But I don't know. So, but I'm glad that it's finally. I'm finally going to one next year, and I'm looking forward to it. So hopefully, when that time comes, we'll have hopefully a fun story to talk to you about that. Before we start, make sure if you haven't already, please make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe, all the normal YouTubey stuff. And I hope you're ready for a interesting video. So this is the one that I have been working on for a bit now. Well, I gotta put this. The pen I usually write with ran out of ink, so until I get some new ink for it, I gotta use another Bigfoot pen that I have. The pen is pretty much like a tree with Bigfoot poking around his Bigfoot poking around it with a little Bigfoot sign on the top of it, and it's a great pen. I haven't used it in a while, and I forgot how good it writes. So my other Bigfoot pen would not have made it through this recording of me writing down my notes for it. So thankfully, I had another Bigfoot pen as a backup. Different kind of pen, but still Bigfoot nonetheless. Okay, so what is this episode? What is this one that I've been mentioning about and everything, and been like, oh, I've been working on it, kind of thing. So pretty much, we are going to be going over. I've got a list of 10 cryptids. The 10 cryptids for the possible explanations for some of these cryptids. Like, are they actually what they said they were, or are they something else? So we're kind of just gonna go from the lists, and also they're also in no any particular order. I just went through my sources of where I looked through this stuff, and it's hard to start adding them in when I add it on. Some of them, yeah, one of them is like not really necessarily a cryptid, but it's one that I've heard about as like a myth or a legend in another part of the world, and I was thinking like, okay, and the possible explanation for that one, so I kind of added it on to the list, even though it necessarily isn't a cryptid. But it's very cryptid-y and very cool, and if it is true, it's terrifying. But I think I possibly have the explanation for it. So I got nothing else. So why don't we just get right into it? And we're the first one. Some of these most of these you probably have heard of. Some of these probably not. But I kind of did some pretty well known ones, or some lesser known ones, or ones that are like, okay, like really, like you really think that one's real, or something along those lines. Or people talk about it. But we're just gonna go down the list and just go from there. So the first one we're gonna do is the Ozark Howler. It is known in the Ozark areas of Arkansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, and Texas. The Ozark Howler is described as a tall cat-like creature with horns. Some descriptions also state as more being like a more bear-like on some of like how like bulkiness and how the shape of its head is. Very creepy looking creature and very scary thing about it. But of course, its name. It has been known to have a very weird and strange howl or scream. It's like the combination of a wolf howl, an elk's bugle, and the laugh of a hyena. I am not going to try to replicate that in a sort of weird way, or people around me might think I'm weirder than I already am. So if you want, record, get a wolf howl, an elk's bugle, and a hyena laugh, and then play them together. And supposedly that's what the sound of the creature sounds like. So I've heard of the Ozark Howler for a very long time. I think it's probably one of like the lower end cryptids that you hear about, but there's enough like stories and talk about that at some point you're gonna hear about it. Instead of like like Mantis Man, which is like, as far as I'm aware, there are only 2 known sightings of the creature, and that was some time ago. And as far as I'm aware, there hasn't been one since. If you are curious about learning about Mantis Man, let me know. Maybe we'll do a little thing about some others, like an episode of like a bunch of like even lesser known cryptids with very little evidence and stuff like that. I actually have an idea for that. Cool. That's gonna be next week's. So stay tuned, people. So obviously, because the Ozark Howler again is really well known for being more like this cat-like creature. A lot of times seen standing upright on 2 legs, so kind of like that dogman-like sense. But instead of having the face of a dog, it has the face of a cat with also like horns, very like weird, like protruding, like forward-facing horns. They bend up and then they go up and then start bending towards it kind of way. And it's always been weird. It's always been known as having the strange howl and everything else like that. But then until some years ago, or when the show came out, but I've only actually just recently saw the show this past year. There was a man called Forrest Galante, and he went around. He was originally started off with a show called Extinct or Alive, looking for animals that are supposedly extinct, but then apparently trying to get like physical evidence of them on camera. And then later on, he did a show with his wife where they talk about like the mysteries of certain parts around the world, of different cryptids and stuff like that. And they did the Ozark Howler. They would talk to people and everything. Oh yeah, I didn't go to the thing like I. Ozark Howler. Aha. Here we go. So the Ozark Howler is, so okay, so I guess we'll go back to it. So in the show, he would go around talking to people about it, and it wasn't until and there was a witness to the creature where it was this this guy was in like this cave and had a very very strange smell that he heard, and from inside the cave also heard this terrifying howl that scared the bejesus out of this guy, was then made him run out of the cave. And he's had this experience for years. It then wasn't until when Forrest Galante came around, he had some possible ideas of what it might be. So after looking around a little bit and doing some discovery and, doing some little bit of research, he possibly found the culprit for what, for what the Ozark Howler might be. And after going around a little bit, and he believes that the culprit for the Ozark Howler is the North American red wolf, which is supposedly a very rare, thought to be extinct species of wolf in the wild, like very very remote and very tough to see. And since it's so rare, many people don't even know that the creature even is a thing, because how rare and elusive the creature is. Let's actually, no, shush. North American red wolf. Wolf. Not that. No. North American red wolf. That was better than that. Anyhow, so after Forrest brought this guy to a little sanctuary where they do keep live, in captivity, species of these animals. He got up there. The guy, because apparently they also have, I guess, a very unique smell or odor from their natural musk, or from masking their territory. But as they, why does Discord notifications always go crazy when I'm recording? I go through nothing but all of a sudden I start recording. Bam, 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 bam. Shotgun reactions of notifications. Sorry. So he then made the man smell the air, and he was like, wow, that's the smell. That's the smell that I got in that cave. And then, just without warning, I think then the wolves then start doing their howls. And the man is there then stunned, because that is what he heard. He's like, that's it. Like, that's the sound I heard from the cave. So he's like, because they have such a very unique howl compared to a lot of wolves, especially people who might be hearing these not used to wolves, because if I am correct, close. Wolves in North America. So in reality, wolves in North America, especially in a lot of parts of the United States, wolves are not around, or not a thing. God, wolves are all over Russia and all that part of the world. Well, but yeah, but like they're obviously, of course, wolves are obviously in Canada, and they go to Alaska, and you've got like the western central parts of the United States where there are wolves. But if you look at the East Coast, even the rest of the United States, nothing. There is nothing. And yet, there were these species of wolves that did live here more commonly. But of course, humans, how we have to destroy things that are just trying to live, and they threaten our way of life, kind of thing, that they are pretty much thought to be hunted down to extinction. And yet there are some species of them that still live in captivity, and apparently still in the wild. So after hearing the testimony of this man, telling him what he saw, and then smelling and hearing the sounds from these wolves, he is believed that the Ozark Howler is just misidentified as a very rare group of North American red wolves. And I'm like, okay, I guess that's cut and dry then. That's it right there. Or is it? I was thinking that too at first when I saw this, but then on one of the podcasts that I listened to, a man was telling a story of an encounter him and his family had while hiking in the woods. And while they were camping one night, they woke up to a ungodly sound from a creature. The howl was so strange they couldn't even, nail it down to any particular kind of animal. And then of course, their dog was like on edge the entire time. Following night, the sound comes back again, and then after the man then pokes his head out to see what's causing the commotion, outstanding from out from the woods, standing this tall creature would look like the head of a cat, who also looked like he had horns. Stared at the dog, stared at this family, as just beyond just beyond the natural light, but or just barely in the natural light, as they're staring at this creature across from them, and they are terrified. They are stunned by this creature. Luckily, they were able to get the dog in the tent with them, and then close it up. And apparently, the creature just left on its own without any problems or commotions. And yet, and as they're driving home, the parents are kind of like quietly whispering to each other, like, "Was that the Ozark Howler?" They're whispering to it because they know, like, I think they left like shortly after that, leaving the tent and just got the stuff, got their kids, and just left. So, and then of course, they within the moonlight, they were able to get a look at it. Sure, nighttime could be can be a little disorienting, and of like shadows, and you can't see things clearly. And yet though, and yet this family saw this creature. And I'm thinking, okay, maybe there is a bit more to these stories of the Ozark Howler than I might have known. Sure. Could it be possible that some of these sightings and sounds of the Ozark Howler are a very rare group of North American red wolves? Absolutely. Especially with the man who said he heard the strange sound and smelled this very strange odor that, and then when he was in the proximity of these species of wolves, he heard and smelled the odor that he had heard and smelled before. So that adding a bit more of like, okay, so in this circumstance, this man had an encounter with a North American red wolf or wolves. But yet this family clearly did not see a wolf. This creature was standing on two legs, not on four, not misidentified as anything else. Could it possibly have been a dogman? Sure, that is very possible. Dogmen are a lot more wide range than people are aware of. If this is your first time listening and you want to learn more dogman, listen back to some episodes ago when I did talk about the dogman. It's a very interesting cryptid. Go give it a listen. So, what do I think the Ozark Howler is? I believe a lot of these sounds that people are hearing of the Ozark Howler are possibly groups of North American red wolves. That is very possible. But yet, could there be some of these howls, some of these sightings of an actual real creature that is not that is not a North American red wolf or any known animal? Very possible. I was on it's a North American red wolf side completely until I heard this story, and I'm like, interesting. Maybe be a bit more open-minded about this. So I believe that it's possible. It might be 50-50. Probably more or less more than North American red wolf, but maybe some are a bit more not than people might realize. The next one we have is the Ahul. The Ahul is a giant bat-like creature, humanoid thing in some cases, on the island of Java in Indonesia. Indonesia's got a lot of crazy stuff over there. A lot of crazy cryptids. Obviously, of course, Indonesia also does have the orang pendek and other flying cryptids and everything like that. Indonesia is where it's at. There's a lot of mystery and a lot of crazy creatures down over there. So then it gets its name from the sound that it supposedly makes. Like, it goes like, ahoo, ahoo, kind of thing. That's how, a lot of people describe the sound of it. Ergo, that's how it's got its name. Oh, I guess I am not doing very well with this. Do. A hole. There we go. Some say that is more bat-like. Some say it's more like a flying primate kind of way, like kind of thing. Let's see. Some of the earliest sightings of the creature going from 1925 with naturalist Dr. Ernest Bartles, son of noted anthropologist M.E.G. Bartles, was exploring a waterfall on the slopes of the Salic Mountains when a giant unknown bat, the Ahul, flew directly overhead. In 1927, around 11:30 p.m., Dr. Ernest Bartles encountered the Ahul again. Bartles was laying in bed inside his thatched house close to a river nearby. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. In Western Java, listening to the sounds of jungle, Bartles suddenly heard a very strange, different sound coming from almost directly over his hut. This sound was this loud and clear cry seemed to utter a ahoo, kind of thing, and again giving its name. So obviously, with especially the early times of discovery and exploration, maybe not that early, but at least like for like Westerners exploring, obviously like a lot, like we talked about in the very first episode, a lot of animals that were considered cryptids until there was evidence from Western explorers, and then the rest of the world then knew of their existence, kind of thing. And so obviously when people are going to these new areas, they may not be used to some of the modern day wildlife. So there are some species of giant fox that are known to live in Indonesia, which could very be possible for some of these sightings. Now, of course, then some people are more than sure. Oh, it also does have an 18 to 28 foot wingspan. So it's not a small creature. Let's see, giant fox, giant flying fox size. A flying fox's wingspan can be up to 4 feet, which is not bad. That is pretty good, but still nowhere near what they say for the ahul. Some sayings have it as a bit smaller, but still that's pretty crazy in the largest known bat, which is a flying fox. That's still pretty big for having a 4 foot wingspan. And that's probably about the wingspan of how a normal human can stretch out, maybe a little less, but still pretty big for a fox, for a bat-like species. Also, if you've never seen what a flying fox looks like, honestly, I'd recommend looking it up. They're actually freaking adorable. They don't look like scary like normal little bats. They kind of look like flying puppy dogs. Definitely give them a look. Flying foxes. They're adorable. They are flying puppers. They deserve good. They deserve good boy, good girl loves. And so with the ahul, there is another species that does live in Indonesia in a lot of areas where these so-called these sightings of the ahul happen. And there is the Javan scops owl. There is an owl species that does live in these areas of Indonesia where the sightings happen. And of course, with the sound, if you've ever listened to an owl before, they go like, oh hoo, oh hoo, like hoo hoo, like they have the general like hoo hoo, like hoo, kind of noise. So it's very possible that maybe these sounds of these owls are a little bit different than normal owls, and which gives it this normal ahoo, ahoo, like you would sounding very similar to what an owl would make. So now they also don't look very like I would feel like some of these may not be misidentified as the creature itself. Javan Scops owl. Here we go. It's also a very small species of owl just by looking at it. Yeah, it is a very small little species of owl. Kind of creepy looking in a way, but it only weighs about like, oh come on, give me stupid North American style of it, but it only weighs its length is about like maybe like 7 inches or so, and his wingspan is only about like maybe less than 2 feet. So it is it's a pretty small owl species. Sure, it does look a little creepy and stuff like that. So maybe if you're not used to it, it could fly by. You'd be like, oh, what the hell is that? But I think more so, it might possibly be misidentified for some of these sounds of of the hooting it makes, which then be like, oh, so that's what it is. That might be what it is, and then the sightings might just be misidentifications of the possibility of the of some giant bat species. Maybe there's a bat species there that's not identified yet, and it could be this. Or maybe some of these things maybe there is a new giant bat species, but then they also hear this sound and kind of put them together, even though in relations they probably have nothing to do with each other. So the Ahul, what do I think it is? Well, the sounds are probably from the Javan Scops owl. That's probably the most likely candidate for the sound. As for the visual sightings, it very well possibly could be it very well could possibly be, just a misidentified species of giant bat, or is a brand new one that hasn't been discovered yet, but it probably has no connection to the owl to the ahul sound. Because as far as I'm aware, they only hear that in the woods. I don't believe anyone's ever reported actually seeing the creature itself making the sound while it's flying by. So that could just be a coincidence. So the Ahul, very interesting one, possibly misidentified for the sounds and the visuals, but maybe it is a new species of bat, and people just may not be aware of it because jungles are very tough and are very hard to to penetrate well, and they may just be misidentified as a known animal. I wasn't sure about putting this one on the list, but I kind of want to put it on because I'm not 100% sure exactly what it could be. But the next one we got going is Bat Squatch. Yes, I know. Just bear with me for a moment. Bat Squatch was first seen around Mount St. Helens around the 1980s, and the first I've heard of Bat Squatch before, but this is my first time actually reading like the descriptions of it, and it's very strange. I'll explain why in a moment after I read the description of it. What I found. Supposedly, it has yellow eyes, a dog-like muzzle, blue fur, sharp teeth, bird-like feet, and leathery bat-like wings. So it's like some weird, like, hybrid flying thing. And it was very, very strange of the sign. But, like, here, let's read some of these sightings real quick. In April 1994, Brian Canefield was driving in Washington's Pierce County when a truck suddenly died. Canefield said a large creature landed in front of him. He said it was human-like, 9 feet tall with bat-like wings. Also sported a coat of blue fur. And then it's been seen more around Mount St. Helens, northern Canada, Northern California, and just other parts around that area, where people seeing this creature. Now I have heard of Bat Squatch before, but this is the first time I've ever heard this description of it, like it being more like dog-like and its fur being blue. Because when I first heard about it, the man was telling a story where he was deer hunting. And as he's deer hunting, he's just silently sitting in his deer stand up in a tree. When next thing you know, all he hears is whoosh, 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 whoosh. This big loud flapping of some sort of big wings flying above him. Looks up and sees this big creature, human shaped with these big wings flying above him. But once the creature then knows that it's been seen, it then flies off. The man, terrified in his deer stand, cannot move for a bit until he makes sure the creature is gone, but then he books it out of there. The description of the creature that he got was pretty much like a Bigfoot just with wings. So like the generic Bigfoot look, but just with wings. Nothing, and this was also during the daytime too. So this man was able to get a very good look at the creature. He didn't describe it having this blue fur or like a dog-like face or anything. He he looked up, saw it for a few moments, and then it flew away. But he just described it as just a Bigfoot with wings kind of thing. So it's very interesting when I looked into this a little bit of it, having more of it being more of like a flying dog man than an actual squat, Bigfoot kind of thing. I mean, sure, there are a few cryptids around certain parts of the U.S. where they call like goat squatch and yada yada squatch, and there's a lot of something squatches around. I think someone even put a little comment. Yeah, bat squatch, sheep squatch. Those are some of the ones I've heard before, and just very interesting that I'm seeing this description, reading this description of the creature instead of like the normal one that I've used to, it being more just Bigfoot looking. So, what do I think this one is? Well, that's kind of hard to say because there's a lot of interesting cryptids that we, don't really have any idea about. And I necessarily didn't say that all these cryptids I would have any sort of idea of explanation for them. Some of them were also just maybe some lesser known cryptids and just opening your eyes to the more possibilities of what's really out there and stuff like that. So what do I think it is? I'm not sure. Yeah, sure. It's very strange that there be such a creature that looks like Bigfoot or something along those lines of this blue dogman like creature that could fly in the air, but still, especially with that one hunter who said he got a good look at it during the day, it definitely does make you at least scratch your head a little bit, like, like what did he really see? Like, what is it? So what is Bat Squatch? I am not sure. I really don't. There could be, it could, I don't know. Nothing in evolution like that should definitely, like, Bigfoot just itself has a lot more DNA evidence, or at least like explanation for it, but a flying Bigfoot like creature thing, I have no idea. I don't even know how something like that could even be possible. So there's some other method or ways that these creatures exist that we can simply just not comprehend, and that is crazy to me. But at the same time, I love it because that is what I love about this subject. Cryptozoology rules. Woo! So this one I've known about this one for a very long time. And I think it's well known by a lot of people in the cryptozoology field and everything else like that. It's not necessarily, well, we will be talking about the bloop. Now, if you've been into cryptozoology before, at some point in your life, you probably have heard of the bloop. This is a very new sound, like bloop, bloop, or something like that. I will try to get a link to the video of the bloop on the Facebook page so that you can give it a look. So again, if you haven't followed the Facebook page yet, follow it, facebook.com/Cryptid Talk. That's where I sometimes post these things of stuff I talked about in the episode. So the bloop. The bloop was a sound that was recorded in 1997 in the South Pacific. The sound was let's see. Here, let me just read this. The bloop was a powerful ultra low frequency underwater sound of uncertain origin detected by NOAA, National Ocean and, oh goodness gracious, Atmospheric Administration. According to earlier speculation, the sound was supposedly emitted by a very large, still undiscovered marine animal, and there's a picture here that they have it compared to, the size of a blue whale is about like the blue whale is the biggest known mammal on that lives on this planet. but apparently the frequency that the creature was that the sound was making would have had to make it would have made it the 250 feet long. And they show in comparison that obviously it dwarfs a blue whale, but apparently for it to make that amount of frequency and everything about the sound audio of it, the creature would have had to been that big to do it. And for years and years, people have gone back and forth like, no, 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 no. It's not an animal. It's a volcano eruption or iceberg moving, like natural sounds of nature moving things against each other, and then the sound being distorted, heard over a much farther distance, to where people then thought, it was actually something else. And the argument for it went back and forth, back and forth. I personally believe that because like the ocean sounds very weird, but I always thought that and I always believed that it was some sort of animal noise just on how it sounded, because it being something natural, just it didn't sound like that or anything like that. But unfortunately, after many years of going over evidence and everything like that, in 2023, just last year, the bloop was confirmed that it was made by glacier ice. So the rubbing again of big things of glacier ice rubbing against each other in the ocean caused this very unique, strange sound, and like the bloop. And that's apparently what caused it after all these years. Because if you listen to they would listen to recordings of other natural sounds being that the earth would make, and next thing you know, we've got this this blooping noise. It's like, man, that really does think that this was made from from nature, from ice rubbing against each other, making this such a very unique sound. It's like, I was having so much hope that it was some undiscovered deep sea mammal that we haven't found yet, or some sort of creature. But unfortunately, by the sounds, by the sadness of many others, the bloop is just a natural phenomenon and not some undiscovered giant creature that lives in the ocean. Sad face indeed. But still very interesting nonetheless. It shows the crazy sounds that nature can make that we humans could never fathom that this sound was made from ice rubbing against each other and shifting around. That is bonkers. Bonkers and very, very sad. So the next one on our list is the eastern cougar. So you're thinking like, wait, like eastern cougar? What are you talking about? Cougars not extinct. No, they're not. What is it? Like, what is it? Is it west of the Rockies or west of the Mississippi? I think it's west of the Mississippi that there are no cougars west of the Mississippi or part of the U.S. But on the East Coast, where the mountain lines did used to exist here. Fun fact: in the southern parts of the United States, around Louisiana and the other parts of the South, jaguars actually used to be a modern animal in the United States. But of course, we humans like, ooh, scary, scary thing. Ooh, it's hurting our livestock. We must get rid of it. Blam, blam, blam. Unfortunately, took out the jaguar, the southern jaguar from the United States. We humans think. The same kind of general idea with the eastern cougar, where supposedly the last known sighting of last known confirmed sighting of the eastern cougar was in Maine in 1938. And yet they have here of a person who took a picture of one being hunted by their dogs in 1993, and also in Maine. And fun fact, back when my nanny was alive, my dad's mom, she had a caretaker who lived in New Jersey, and I would see her every day and everything like that. She was very nice and everything. And since she lived in New Jersey, I remember she told me that she's like, oh yeah, we saw a cougar in our backyard. Like, what? Yeah. She literally showed us a picture of a cougar looking in her window in the back of their house, clear as day, like that picture. That's a cougar right there. And so, like, okay, maybe there's, and obviously not being a young kid, I obviously didn't really know that technically shouldn't be a thing. And yet, but then the United States Fish and Wildlife Service in 2011 officially declared it extinct. It had also been removed from the endangered species list because it can't be endangered anymore if supposedly it's extinct. And yet, though, we have this one little picture here. We have people who apparently have captured them on their trail cameras, and people seeing it. And of course, then my nanny's caretaker showing me a picture of one looking in the back of her house. Like, the eastern cougar is not extinct. They're probably just very, 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 very rare and very elusive because they just do not want to be. They do not want to be found or be interacted with humans. But definitely interesting, an animal like this that people were so sure is extinct, and yet, boom, like the early, like the mid like I think that was like the whole thing with my nanny was probably like the early 2000s or so, somewhere between like 2000 and what day did I finish 7th grade? That was 2006. So somewhere between like 2004, 2005, maybe 2003 is when my nanny's caretaker showed me this picture of a mountain lion looking at her house. I'm like, all right, because thinking about it now, it's like, there it is, right there. It is not extinct. It's very, very rare, but not extinct yet. So good job, Eastern Cougar. You are coming back. Fun fact, Eastern Cougar is also believed to be a creature in Virginia called the vampire beast of Blantonborough, and a person also recorded a very grainy picture of a possible cougar, that might have been the culprit of some of these attacks in Blantonborough. So again, that's the east. That's the East Coast, eastern part of the United States. Boom, boom, boom. Eastern cougar still alive. So take that, scientists. Take that, non-believers. Next page. All right, let's see. Let's get down to that part right there. How we do with time? Okay. Not bad. I might need to slow down just a wee bit. So next one for number 6, we've got the Hopkinsville goblins. These are a little cryptid known throughout the parts of Kentucky. Is a lesser extinct. Okay, blah, blah, blah. So the main sighting, apparently, was a whole big fiasco with this sighting of this creature. So okay, quote: there were dozens of eyewitnesses to the incidents, which included 2 families present at the farmhouse where the incidents occurred, and other civilians nearby, which had no connections to the families that were involved in this sighting, but yet still saw the creatures. Also, it was also seen by local policemen and state troopers who also saw this strange phenomenon in this area. So besides just normal people itself, there were also police officers and a state trooper, people with a higher authority than the average person, that you can then believe that there's a bit more to it than to just someone making up something along those lines. So, long story short, this family was inside their cabin, and the story goes that they were attacked by a bunch of these creatures that were seen all around their house. On top of it, they could hear them scratching, looking in the windows, and terrifying the children and the people that were inside the house. They were seen. They are small little creatures. Let's see. Ugh. About 2 to 4 feet tall, so they're small, with pointed ears, big old eyes, and apparently silver in color. After this sighting happened, scaring the hell out of the family there, they left. Leaving, they then went to a local sheriff who reported their sighting. I'm out of water. Who reported their sighting, and then when when they came back to the house with the police officers. Actually, hold on. There were how many police officers were there? And then the farmhouse in the middle of the night, local police station. Fox returned to the farmhouse with the sheriff and 20 officers. When they came back, though, they didn't see any of the creatures, but they saw the damage that was done to the cabin. They saw the scratch marks and everything like that. So, adding a little bit of validity to their story of their being like, huh, okay, we may not see right now what caused this attack, but we can see that there is evidence that it did happen, and definitely not something that they are making up or lying about. And so and apparently during this encounter, they also shot at the creatures, but had like apparently no effect. Also, fun fact, I actually should have realized this, but the Pokemon Sableye, its design is very similar to the look of the hobgoblins, of the little goblins. So kind of interesting that Pokemon got the idea from a cryptid, which they have done a few different times. That might be an interesting one. So very interesting. And then again, this happened. Oh wait, did this say when it happened? Huh. It actually doesn't say when this happened. Okay, hold on. Well, going by when the story happened, this probably happened within the last like 40, 50 years or so. But when I was at CryptidCon the first time, went to the little town hall meeting, and you're like, oh, if you've seen something, tell us about it, kind of thing. There was only maybe like two stories, maybe I think it was only one, of one woman who said that she actually believes she saw one of these creatures. And she said, if I remember correctly, she said it was at night, and in this tall little grassy area, and it was kind of the sun, like the moon was kind of behind a little bit, so it was kind of showing the shape of it. But she saw, and it was like this strange little creature with these big old pointed ears. I believe she said she saw more than one. I don't remember the exact number, but she saw more than one. And then, of course, after staring at them for a moment, they then vanished and ran away. But when she saw it, she said it had the generic, the big old ears and the small little body and the small little head that it had. So even after all these years, people have said to still be seeing these creatures in the remote parts of Kentucky. So very interesting one for sure. And I don't know, maybe I like to see one day, because as far as we're, they're not aggressive or dangerous. They're just little curious little rascals that, who knows why they were all about this family, like what about this family like ticked them off, or maybe they're just messing with them. Who knows? But I possibly believe that these are probably, a lot of people think that they're some sort of extraterrestrial, some sort of alien, just don't know how they looked and their actions and everything. So I believe they're definitely not of this earth, but definitely from above, for sure. No, you are killing me. Okay, here it is. The next one we have is the Iliamna Lake Monster. Iliamna Lake Iliamna is in a lake in Alaska. The monster is said to be some sort of giant fish-like monster around 10 to 30 feet long. Some say that it's got sharp teeth that are used to attack propellers and also knock people out of their boats where they are never found again. Apparently, a woman, a woman who was flying up, some people who fly like the little single propeller planes was flying over Alaska around Lake Iliamna, and would see a shadow of a big creature underneath of it. And when Jeremy Wade of River Monsters went to this area, was talking to these people, talked to this person who saw it, she then drew a picture of it, because she, going by the shadow of it and going with the shadow that it had of her, the shadow of her plane, this creature was supposedly very big. And after doing, and of course, the missing people and everything, it's like, oh man, this must be a pretty terrifying monster. Well, apparently the Lake Iliamna monster is actually most likely just very rare but giant species of white sturgeon. White sturgeon is a more or less a very harmless fish. They don't attack people. They don't have teeth. They pretty much just have a little suction mouth that they use to suck up stuff off the bottom of the sea floor and everything. But white sturgeon can grow up to very big sizes. There are stories of white sturgeon growing to monstrous sizes long time ago. There's old stories of them being like 12, 15 foot long, stories of them being bigger. Size, that's what we want. White sturgeon can apparently grow up to 20 feet long and weigh almost a ton. So, it's a very ancient looking fish too, because it's got like plated armor and everything else like that. So, made to survive living, without being just evolving to a point where it needs heavy armor to protect itself from predators, since it doesn't have anything else to protect it with. So, if these are the sightings of the possible explanation for it, well, what about these people going missing? Well, one thing that white sturgeon are known for is that because they're more of a bottom dweller kind of fish, but when they are fished up to the surface and people are trying to fish them out, that the fish do they jump up in the air and flap themselves around trying to get the lure out of their mouth. Well, if some of these white sturgeon are pretty big and pretty strong, and if you're not prepared, they may accidentally hit your boat or pull so hard that they pull you off of, out of your boat, to where if you don't let go the fishing rod, you may, drown. You may drown, or the waters of Alaska are very cold, so you may fall into the water and drown and maybe not get out because of hypothermia, being too cold. So. And of course, what is like these things of them attacking propellers? Well, again, they have sharp, armor on the back of them, and if they're not prepared, the propeller may have hit a sturgeon, and since its armor is so tough that it looks like bite marks when you went over it, but that's not what happened. And of course, that woman who drew the outline of it, the shadow she saw, was very sturgeon-like, like down to a T. So, I believe the Lake Iliamna monster is really just giant white sturgeon that are being misidentified as a lake monster, a scary monster, a scary lake monster. Yet sturgeon are some of these ones are pretty big, so you could consider them monsters, but nothing that we have to worry about. They are pretty much a harmless fish that do not hunt humans, but very interesting though nonetheless. So this next one is I was kind of tempted to put it on the list, but I kind of would have put it on anyways because I believe there is a bit more mystery to the story than people might realize. And for anyone, again, a lot of people who've been in cryptozoology probably have heard about this at some point, especially in Bigfoot, the Minnesota Iceman. From the 1960s and the 1970s, there was supposedly a Iceman, a frozen in ice that was being shown around to all these different shopping malls, state fairs, carnivals all over the United States and Canada, supposedly showing this missing link frozen in ice. Supposedly it was around 8 feet tall, all hairy, and all covered in hair. Pretty much looked like the definition of what you look like as a Bigfoot. And hold on. And so, all these stories, people were fascinated. People would come all around to see the Minnesota Iceman. And people were thinking, like, is this the missing link between, between humans and man? Or not humans and man, wow. From animals and man, from apes. Well, that was the mystery back then. Now, not many people were really given a chance to get a good look at it. Like, no one was actually able to look at it because it was encapsulated in ice. And the theory, obviously, if you freeze a corpse of some sort, like if you want to keep something fresh, you want to keep it frozen and not thawed out to where you then might ruin it or stuff like that. And the original cryptozoologists who started cryptozoology, Ivan and Bernard, did at a point did analyze the Minnesota Iceman, and they believed it to be a legit creature. Not that it wasn't fake or anything else like that, because people were obviously skeptical of this, being like, no, that's not real, it's not real, kind of thing. But unfortunately though, they were gonna I think them or someone was allowed to do evidence to the not evidence, but allowed to examine the creature deeper and maybe get some tissue, some DNA samples from it and stuff like that. But unfortunately, the body then vanished. It disappeared. Up until then, it then reappeared. But and then at one point before it was examined, it was people they weren't able to. But up until recent years, though, that the creature, that the Minnesota Iceman was actually finally allowed to be verified by modern day science. And after doing some analysis and them trying to look at it and stuff like that, they believe that the one that the one they're looking at was not real. But they're not saying that the Minnesota Iceman wasn't real. Is that there are some original pictures of it that do exist out there in the world, but then when they were examining this one that they're looking at, it was different. When they were examining certain parts of the body, like its hands, its feet, like what they could see, and when they were comparing it to original designs, looks of the creature of the original Minnesota Iceman, things were not lining up. Could you argue that maybe like over years, maybe some melting and stuff like that, some things may have adjusted a little bit? Sure, but there were some things that were just not lining up. It was close, like the positioning of it and certain things of it were very close, but it wasn't exact to the original one that was supposedly that was going around in the 1960s and 1970s. So since they were trying to look at it and they weren't able to verify, and apparently after getting what they could out of this one, they then clarified that this was not true. So then that came into where is the original? Because people don't believe that this is the original one that was going around back then. So where is the original one now? And no one knows. No one knows if it was swapped out or something like that, or if it was swapped out, why wouldn't you want people to know the truth about it? Or is there something else that people just may not know? We may never know, but that mystery of the Minnesota Iceman, which is very fascinating, I believe was a legit animal in there. Was it Bigfoot? Was it Neanderthal? Was it something else? I don't know. But whatever it was in that ice, though, it was real. And unfortunately, today we will never know what truly that creature was. Two more people. The next one is, now this is the one I was talking about earlier, that is not necessarily a cryptid, but it's of Japanese folklore. Oh, here it is. And we'll be talking about the kappa. The kappa is a Japanese water spirit, which is well known in the areas around Japan and everything around. Very well known in streams and rivers and little and stuff like that. And apparently, the stories of apparently a fisherman. Oh, apparently it's actually a lot worse. Okay, never mind. This is a bit more cryptidy than I thought, because I actually didn't know there were actually that many sightings of it. Huh. Interesting. So they described it as this weird creature that looks like it has a shell, webbed feet, webbed feet, webbed hands, and could stand up like a man. And also, it also kind of looked like it has some little bald spot on the top of its head. So it apparently has a receding hairline, apparently. And apparently there's a few of these sightings that people actually have seen it. Interesting. People saying that it also, the spirit, would, if you didn't, treat it with respect, was very kind. If you didn't treat it with respect, it would take the souls of your children, supposedly out through their anus. But more or less, it would also drown children too. So, what what is this strange creature? It's so weird looking and unique. It's like a half turtle that can stand up, but also in some cases it looks like a lizard. Well, it is believed that the kappa may be misidentified as the giant Japanese salamander. The look of a Japanese salamander is very strange and very like similar to a lot of descriptions of the kappa. It's three toes, it's three webbed toes, it's webbed hands, it's weird body and everything like that. How it looks, they don't have shells, but on how some of their skin looks, it kind of does look. If you looked at it the wrong way, it kind of would look like some sort of shell. But now they are a decent sized lizard of or salamander, but they're definitely not big enough to eat a child. But some of these bigger ones could possibly drown children in some of these, in these shallow pools where they live and stuff like that, and the child may drown. But definitely nothing more terrifying than that, than maybe drowning a few children here and there. But definitely an interesting creature nonetheless, which might just be misidentified as a giant Japanese salamanders that are rare, but are known to live in parts of Japan. The last one we have here is the UB-85 Atrocity. Atrocity being name of the boat, not of the vessel, not named of the it's an atrocity kind of thing. So, hold on, let me get to that page. Go to use. There we go. So this was during the height of World War One. So let me read the thing real quick. April 30th, 1998, as a British patrol ship, the God dang it, I had it earlier. Caropsis was floating around the surface of the North Atlantic when all of a sudden they found a disabled German submarine, the UB-85 Atrocity. And when they interrogated the Germans, they were wondering what the hell happened. What are you guys doing? Because apparently they had abandoned their vessel because let me just read the thing real quick. When they asked the question, they're like, no, all right. According to the captain, the U-boat surfaced the night before in order to recharge the submarine's batteries. The captain was on deck with some of his men and a few of his officers, getting some fresh air and having a smoke, when an abrupt surge rocked the ship and a heavy weight seemed to bring down on the starboard bow. Out of the darkness of the night, what the captain referred to as a strange beast climbing out of the ocean onto the side of the U-boat. Every man on watch began firing firearms at the beast, but the animal had a hold of the forward gun mount, refusing to let go. As the captain continues, stating the proportions of the beat were so immense that it rocked the U-boat and caused it to list greatly to the starboard side. Fearing that the ship might sink, the U-boat and sink it, they ordered his men to continue with their barrage. The crew continued firing upon the beast until it finally released the forward gun, disappearing back into the ocean. And noted that during the struggle, the forward deck plating of the ship had been damaged, rendering the U-boat incapable of submerging. And that's, of course, when they were then discovered by the British patrol ship. I have heard of this story before, and after I was very fascinating. Like this German U-boat comes up and is attacked by some strange creature that they've never seen before, and it was such an immense creature and everything else like that. And I was like, man, what could have that been? Obviously, a lot of people thinking that it might have been some sort of like sea serpent or some sort of sea monster. And very interesting. Now, there was a TV show that I forget what it was, looked into it, and they pretty much after going over the evidence of it and looking into it and everything else like that. Now, the one of the best evidence of the creature, the one of the best theories for the creature that people seem to agree upon, was that this creature may have actually been a very large walrus. Now, walruses are not known to be around Iceland, which this also happened near Iceland, by the way. I forgot to mention that part. And so there are no walruses around Iceland. But again, what's stopping one from floating in the ocean and maybe being around this area where it is? It's definitely not unheard of. Long time ago, there were fossil records of there being giant walruses back there, and possibly some walruses being around there in like around the 1400s. But then obviously hunted to extinction from their ivory and everything, and the whale fat and everything. And yet then of course then we have this big large creature that would hold on to their forward facing gun. Well, some of the bigger walruses can weigh more than 2 tons. That's pretty freaking big. And they can be up to over 12 feet. They go 12 feet long, and they can live up to 30 to 40 years. So the people agree that definitely wasn't impossible for it to have been a walrus there. Likely no, but the chances of some descriptions that people described of it, even though at night, did seem pretty very walrus, because like walruses, males have some pretty long tusks, and so you may see that and be like, oh, monster, kind of thing, especially at night. And so, because walruses, it may have been floating around there for a while, and all of a sudden this surface comes up. It's like, oh, I found a place I can hang out. Probably got onto the boat as a place to rest, probably after swimming for so long. And then, of course, freaked out the soldiers, and they shot it. And of course, probably then, it then went away. Like, all right, fine, screw you guys, and then swam away. So I believe the creature that was told in this story was great. Did I lose the thing? No, it's right here. That the creature that probably attacked this German U-boat was most likely just a walrus that needed a place to rest. And that's it. That's our 10 cryptids of possible explanations, or maybe there's a bit more to them than we think, kind of thing. But this was a fun one. I'm definitely a lot longer in time than I thought I was going to. I thought I would be cutting it pretty close with an hour, because I always have a tendency of talking too quickly and not going over things too much and everything else like that. But we are over an hour, and I'm actually pretty happy about that. But I hope you all enjoyed this stuff. Definitely one I've been working on for a little bit, and hopefully it was worth the hype. Yeah, if you, yeah, I hope, bleh, bleh. So many directions I want to go. Hoping you enjoyed the show. Remember, like, share, comment, subscribe on YouTube. All that stuff helps me very much, get noticed and get more subscribers, which we're still, last time I checked, we were at 42. So I got one more since last show. So let's get up to those 50 subscribers. Come on, let's get 50 subscribers before 2025. If you or a friend has seen any sort of creature, heard some sort of creature, has some sort of evidence or anything, please let me know. Email me at cryptidtalk91@aol.com. I would love to hear your stories. Obviously, we haven't gotten it yet, but that means we haven't found the people who have seen or heard something yet, or know someone that has. And yeah, I think we're gonna end it there. So remember, keep your ears and eyes open for the creepiness in store, because you never know what you'll find outside of your door. This has been Cryptid Talk with Michael Mann. Have a good day, everyone. Stay safe. Love you all.